Welcome to the Power Monkey Podcast, where we chat with the best in the world about what they do. We invite coaches, athletes, and industry leaders in our community who are willing to open up about their setbacks and successes to educate and inspire our listeners. I'm your host, Dave Durante, with my co-host, Chad Vaughn. And on today's episode, we are interviewing two people, James Townsend and Mal O'Brien. Now, James is an incredible athlete in his own right, having been a collegiate football player at both the University of Iowa and Rutgers. He went on to play with the Chicago Bears for a number of years before turning his attention to the CrossFit world. Incredible athlete. You'll hear a little bit more about some of his accolades and some of his incredible successes before he transitioned into being a coach. And now he's coaching Mal O'Brien, who is one of the up-and-coming phenoms of the CrossFit community. Mal is only 17 years old, and if you ever watch her compete, the numbers that she's putting up, the workouts that she's able to crush, she really is going to be a face that everyone in the CrossFit community is going to get to know very, very soon. We're excited to get both of them on together right prior to the start of the 2021 CrossFit Open season. Mal is still in the junior category, but she is very much keeping an eye on what the senior girls are doing in the open division. And I really enjoyed this one to be able to get an athlete's perspective who has transitioned to coaching, especially since it's such a unique combination between James and Mal. Both of them are such humble, great people. I'm really excited for you guys to get to know them both a little bit more. Enjoy. Well, James and Mal, thank you so much for being on the podcast with us. We actually, just to let listeners know, we actually had recorded this and had some issues with the audio, so we appreciate you guys taking some extra time to be with us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us again.
So want to give a little bit of background on kind of where you guys are coming from. You guys are out in Iowa right now training, and you can tell us a little bit more about how you guys got connected. But James, I want to start with you, and I want to talk a little bit about your daughter because I'm fascinated. And I have a little daughter who's 4 years old who we have in gymnastics and is getting into what it means to be an athlete. And your daughter is kind of blazing the trail for what it means to be an athlete at that age. Can you tell me a little bit about your daughter and kind of what her gymnastics journey has looked like? Even though she's such a young kid, she still has had an amazing journey up to this point.
Yeah, well, Princess B, she's been in the gym with me since she was 2 months. So that's basically, right when you get your shot and you're allowed to come out into the public and everything. So she's been in the gym with me since then. We were living in downtown LA. And downtown LA, believe it or not, daycare was $2,500 a month. And my wife has a very demanding job. She's a financial advisor. So at that time, I was at Dogtown CrossFit, training, had aspirations of getting into CrossFit, learning CrossFit, and trying to compete and everything. And so I would bring her to the gym with me every day. And so at that time, she was crawling at 3 months, walking at 7 months. Wow. And so one day when she was 10 months old, I took her out of her stroller to let her walk around and play. And she went over to a 2.5 pound dumbbell and started doing dumbbell snatches.
at 10 months old.
Yeah, 10 months. And so, I never showed her, and it never was my idea to go ahead and be like, all right, I have a kid, I play sports all my life. Let's see what you can do. That just didn't, pique my interest because of, how I grew up and the pressures of being an athlete of a son of an athlete who, didn't make it. So I didn't want to put those pressures on my kid, but my kid put those pressures on me because she just came out of the womb ready to get going. And so from there, I was like, okay, let me see if you could hang from the bar. She would hang from the bar. She would do, L-sit holds with us on the bar as we're training, with Dusty Highland. And then, I was like, all right, let me see if you could jump on this box. She went from 10, 15s, 25s, 35s to 45s as a 10-month-old, and then, parallettes, she would hold herself up on his parallettes. And then I was like, okay, we have something here. And that's where the filming just started. I just started pushing that envelope. It just became like a fun thing. And then when she's around 2 years old, she started doing strict pull-ups. And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. All right, let's set a goal. let's go ahead. By the time you turn 3, let's set a goal for 10 strict pull-ups. We were, I'm just thinking outside the box, right? So we were, she turns 3, and then we are like a week after her birthday, and then we're in the gym, and she knocks out 10 strict pull-ups.
And she was 3 years old?
Yeah. Yeah. And so that there, I'm like, all right.
I can't do that right now, by the way.
I'm like, all right, we need to get her into gymnastics, something. And then that's where her career just kicked off. It's her attention to detail, her ability to be able to understand and focus. Like you could take her, show her, it'll take you 2 minutes to show her something, and she just gets it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where her career just took off now. She was, from 3 to 5, they wanted her to compete because of her skill level was so high. But I guess the age limit starts at 7,
mm-hmm.
where you can compete. And
right.
So now, she's 7, and she's level 4 gymnast. She took 2 first place all arounds, 2 second place all arounds, and she just all about it, man. She loves it. It's
That's
fun
incredible.
for her. Yeah, and yeah. She's a
little superstar, man. She's incredible to watch. I mean, if our listeners have not checked out some YouTube videos on her, not only is she amazing as an athlete, but she has a personality, man. You got a little superstar in your hands. That's 7 years old. It's going to be lighting up the gymnastics scene if she continues to stick with it.
Oh yeah, yep.
So and this is a question for later on as well, but I'm curious with you as a dad, and I know she's doing CrossFit and some other things as well, but does she participate in other sports, or is it basically just gymnastics right now? I'm curious what you think about the importance of experiencing other sports in terms of not focusing at too young of an age, and whether or not you think that's a benefit or a detriment for where she is right now.
Right now it's just gymnastics because of her focus and ability and her skill level,
mm-hmm.
and just how much she's all about it.
Yeah.
I don't know how it is for the boys, when they get into gymnastics, maybe you could speak on it more, but like with girls, they just they eat it up.
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Oh yeah.
We tried other things with her, while she was starting off in gymnastics. We tried soccer, and she was doing cartwheels in the middle of playing soccer, and it's, but for her, I just think, she has a great upside for fitness. She loves weightlifting. She loves CrossFit. She loves, being on the bar. I mean, gymnast, she loves showing off.
Yeah.
To friends, like, hey, look what I could do on the monkey bars, and can you do this? And I'm always telling her, like, hey, you can't show your friends and have them doing this because they can get hurt. But right,
she's gonna have to carry a disclaimer around with her, I think.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I mean, right now, since she's in the 2nd grade, it's more GPP for her, general physical preparedness, rather than it being SPP. Until she gets, and I want to say until she gets in the middle school age, to where they have an intramural basketball or soccer, something. Maybe she wants to introduce that track. Mm-hmm. I did track and football. She's very fast in track, so it's hard to say with her and getting her into other sports because of the promising that she has behind.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm going to go out and hopefully that she sticks with gymnastics, and I'd love to see her, be able to compete at a high level for USA Gymnastics. But one of the great USA Gymnastics slogan is begin here and go anywhere. And that's kind of why we always try to encourage people to do gymnastics early on, because it can have great benefit to anything they go on to do. But I have no doubt that your daughter's going to be a superstar in some athletic endeavor, but hopefully it's gymnastics and maybe not weightlifting.
Well, I was going to say, I think she might be a great training partner for Mal in a few years. So maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of your daughter, but she comes from great athletic stock. You have an amazing athletic background yourself. You talked a little bit about track and football. Can you just give us a little timeline on those 2 sports and how it led you to what you ended up doing in the CrossFit community as an athlete?
Yeah. So I started playing football at 4. Little League, obviously. I'm the youngest of five, the fastest of five.
Nice.
You
You
know,
got to throw that in there for sure.
yeah. My brothers, they would when I was 4, my brothers are like 4 or 5 years older than me. So when I was 4, they would always bet against me to race against their friends, and I would beat them in the foot race, you know. And so my whole childhood has always been about that, like, you know, Jim is my nickname. They would say, you know, Jim is, you know, he's just fast. You know, you give him the ball, he's fast. Put him on the track, he's fast. And so, you know, my athletic career has been, you know, football and track, and being able to adapt into other sports. I played baseball, I played basketball, but mainly football and track has been my sport. Became an All-American in 2 sports, in both of those sports, football and track, in high school. Accepted a full ride to the University of Iowa, transferred over to Rutgers, finished there, then got picked up by the Chicago Bears, walked away from that, and then got into training UFC fighters for boxing. But then, you know, I wanted to get out and do something different. I wanted to get back into the way I was training for football. So, and then that's where somebody introduced me into CrossFit, showed me 13.5, and I was like, oh, you know, I used to do this in college, meaning the lifts, not, you know, the crazy stuff. And so that's what led me to go ahead and open up my own spot and further my education into getting my NSCA, CSCS, my NASM, CPT, PES, my L1, in both CrossFit and USAW, and just you know, learn from you guys. David, I've been learning from you since 2014.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah. When you guys used to have the pull-up contraption at the
ring thing.
Dana games, yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, 2013 or 2012 was our first games where we were bringing the ring thing. We were like traveling salesmen, like carrying those things around on our back and just getting people in them. Nobody knew. Everybody thought it was like, what is going on here? It's like little marionette dolls. But yeah, it's been a while since we started that.
Yeah, and then I got to learn about Chad and then now, you know, all the young kids, CJ, and then I forget the other guy that's
probably Harrison.
Yes. Yeah. Harrison. But the other guy, the guy that had the dreadlocks like me. Forgot his name.
Kendrick.
Yeah.
Amazing. He's amazing.
Yeah.
So
sure.
the resources are there to kind of help facilitate, but it's been awesome to see you go from obviously such a high level athlete, you know, competing at every stage all the way up through the NFL, transitioning to CrossFit, and now being a coach. Did you envision yourself in that capacity when you were an athlete? We always love seeing great athletes transition to coaching because we think, you know, Chad and I like to think that we're pretty good at coaching, and coming from the athletic world, it allows you to kind of bring something to the coaching world that maybe that's someone that didn't have that elite athletic background can give to their athletes. Did you envision yourself kind of going into coaching when you were an athlete, or was this kind of an endeavor that kind of just fell into place?
No, I always envision myself because, you know, I'm a learner. I love to learn, especially when it comes to anything, you know, physical or athletic. You know, I just love taking bits and pieces from people and applying that to myself and applying that to my education, you know, because I think, you know, it's more than just getting a piece of paper and saying that, you know, you're a certified this, you're a certified that, but the experience behind it, of doing it and coach and being able to teach it, you know, that's the real certification for me. And so being able to just learn, even when I was in the weight room training for football, I will always ask questions and always push the envelope on, all right, how can I become faster? How can I become stronger? How can I, you know, jump higher? You know, what is this doing for me? Why am I lifting from the hang? Why am I lifting from the blocks? You know, and for the coaches to be able to break it down and let me know that, like, hey, by you power cleaning from the hang or from the blocks, when you get out there and you line up in a slot or in the X position, your start off of the line is going to be so much faster and so much more explosive, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you get out there and you line up and you hit the 40, the two components in the 40 that's important is the 10 and the 20. That's going to let me know if you're going to hit a 4.3 compared to a 4.4.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, what was your time, by the way, James, in the 40?
In the 40, 4.25, my best.
What?
Oh, so,
really? Are you serious?
4.25 hand time, 4.3 flat electronic.
That's amazing. So
Wow.
you threw out 4.3 and 4.4, and that wasn't even your best. You were just
Man,
that's
4.25.
awesome.
What were that? I put you at the combine last year. What was like? Was it Ruggs was like right around that, right? He was like
Ruggs was like, yeah, he was like 4.24.
Shoo.
Right. And
man, that puts you in the first round this year. You gotta get back in football again, man.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So from the athletic background, would you say that that's one of your biggest strengths as a coach, is being able to constantly be learning and saying like, okay, I'm just going to rest on what I did as an athlete or what I know right now. But one of my biggest strengths is that I'm constantly learning, trying to observe other people that have, are experts in these areas. Would you say that's kind of where your strengths lies as a coach?
Right. And just constantly learning, man. What if I'm learning from you? What if I'm learning from Chad? What if I'm learning from my current coach, Max Taeda? It's just what works for me. Hey, I can introduce it to you, but let's see if it can work for you. But also, what works for you? All right. Most people don't like lifting in the narrow stance, right? I understand by me lifting in a narrow stance that I would get more force into the ground, into my pull, into my lift to be able to power clean so much, right? And so I break that down to people like, hey, when you're doing a max vertical jump or a max broad jump, you're not lifting with your feet shoulder width, right? You need it to be in that power position, hip distance, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that power position right there is going to allow you to be able to jump higher or jump further. So if I'm pulling from the ground to get the maximum force or the most power out of this pull, I want to be in this power position.
Mm-hmm.
I could translate that over, right? I could translate that over to some people. Hey, it works for me. Hey, let's try it. If it works for you, but whatever works for you, stick with it. But I like to break that down and explain that to people. Like, this is why, you will want to be in this position, but only if it feels good for you. And,
Yeah. Well, thank you for breaking it down that way, because, we talk about, to me, people put their feet in completely unnecessary positions sometimes. And I don't necessarily think they have to initially feel comfortable there, because if they know that, what we talk about a lot are positions and movements of greatest potential, maybe that's something that they're not comfortable with now, but they can work towards that. And, you explaining that to have your feet hip width apart on the pull and to be able to put power into the barbell width is going to be more meaningful, at least at some point. I'm glad you're out there preaching that message for sure.
Yeah. Cause I get a lot of people like, why are you doing the frog stance or Klokov? His stance is like that. Mm-hmm. I was like, well, I can't speak for Klokov, but for me, if I'm doing a box jump or a max vertical jump, I feel as if I'm not getting enough power into that jump or out of that jump being hip width.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, being shoulder width.
Yeah.
Hip width, I'm getting a lot of power out of it.
Right.
Yeah. Chad, would you say that there's benefits to those other stances, or is it, because I'm thinking about it in handstand positioning too, position of maximum potential for handstand is shoulder width, middle finger to the outside of the shoulder, what we try to teach. But would you say there are benefits to kind of like what you're seeing with those various feet distance in terms of some of the lifts?
Yeah, I really think that kind of thing is leading a lot of people. I don't know. I think there is a certain amount of leniency as a coach that you should have and freedom for movement in certain positions that may feel better or be better for different people. But I think a lot of this information and what people are doing with their feet specifically is causing a lot of confusion, and they're not even thinking about the basics of, just like James just said. If you simply think about doing a vertical jump, even have someone do a vertical jump, you're not going to step into it, whether you step into it or not, but you're not going to, especially if you're stepping into it, you're not going to step into a stance that is 3 inches outside of your shoulders with a 45-degree turn out of your toe. You know, you're going to step into it. Your feet are going to be straight and they're going to be relatively right at shoulder width apart. And that's how you're going to propel yourself up in the air. And though some will argue that, you know, the snatch and clean and jerk are different than the vertical jump, we can have that debate and we can argue, but it is based on a vertical jump. Your body is performing the same action as a vertical jumper. It should be. When you lean over to do a vertical jump, your torso is getting to relatively the same position, if not exactly the same position as you would be in with the bar at the level of the knee. And when you're pulling the weight from the ground, you get to that level with the bar at the top of the kneecap. That's where now it's time for you to turn it on and put speed and power into the barbell. So, but on the other side of that, Dave, especially talking about getting into a start position and lifting it from the ground, because we have so many athletes of different levels and different mobility levels lifting, there's a lot of athletes that aren't going to be able to lock their back in and to get into a decent start position with their feet shoulder width apart. And so that's nothing. I mean, I don't want to say like it's not a big deal, but that is a matter of mobility that they need to work on and to see if they can develop into that better stance. You know, maybe right now they need to use shoulder width with the toes turned out 10 or 15 degrees to be able to even set their hips in the position that we want or in a better position and to lock their back in. So that's why a lot of athletes will modify to that. But again, a lot of athletes, in my opinion, are modified to that completely unnecessarily.
Yeah, I think that's such an important point. It's something that we've probably talked about quite a bit, Chad, this idea of, you know, you brought up Klokov and maybe some other athletes and who are looked at as like the pinnacle of their sport, and athletes trying to emulate those particular movements because, you know, they do a particular way. The important note is to make sure that you're asking the questions as to why they're doing it that way. And then seeing if that particular methodology works for the way that you move and your particular limitations and strengths and weaknesses. And I think sometimes what we see is people just doing it because, oh, they're doing it that way, I should emulate Klokov because I look up to him, where that might not be the right move for that person. I think it's such a critical thing to say, let's ask the right questions in terms of what my strengths and weaknesses are, my limitations, and then what's going to be best put into place to allow me to maximize what I can do.
Because somebody had asked me, they was like, hey, so you lift narrow, you power narrow, and she powers, you know, feet wide, you know, shoulder width. And I was like, well, height, the height difference, you know, compared from, you know, she and me is I got a longer way to go. And, you know, there are some, like Chad said, you know, I'm one of them. There are some mobility issues, you know, my hips and everything, but I'm more comfortable being a fast twitch dominant athlete, power athlete. I'm more comfortable being in the narrow, to whereas, you know, clearly he squat jerks and
right.
he's amazing, but you know, his range is just completely shorter.
Yep, for sure. And we have to be careful, you know, with athletes looking at certain elite athletes, because the thing about some elite athlete, well, any elite athlete really, we're better at compensating. So we can get away with doing things that, you know, aren't necessarily going to be ideal for a lot of other people. And again, that's another thing that I think brings people away from the basics a little bit when we have this lifter, this athlete out here doing these crazy things and winning everything, you know, and they're getting away with something. People don't recognize that, you know?
Right.
Now, go ahead.
I was going to say, but Mal, on the other hand, she's not trying to get away with anything, right? She's heading in the right direction.
She's got technique pretty firm in place, I'd say.
Just the early arm bend. People don't like that.
Would you say so? I mean, I barely lift, right? I barely lift a barbell off the ground.
I don't know, Dave. You beat me in a weightlifting workout not too long ago.
I beat you in a CrossFit workout that had a barbell in it, right? We say anything under 135. If there's 95 on the bar,
yeah,
I have a chance against Chad. You put 135 on the bar, it's over.
Yeah.
But I notice this a lot with gymnasts because we're so, and Mal, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have some gymnastics background, and gymnasts have a tendency to overuse their upper body. And I know this specifically from men's gymnastics because we do so much upper body work that you put a barbell in our hand, our tendency is to use all upper body strength, right? We don't use our legs at all. We end up pulling really early. And that was one of the things that I had a lot of trouble with early on with my, learning from Chad and Mike and the rest of our Power Monkey coaches on the weightlifting side, is such an early pull. Would you say that that's a remnant of some of the gymnastics tendencies, or just something that you've had to deal with as you've learned the weightlifting side of things?
Yeah, I think just as a gymnast, like, we have such like strong upper body strength that we rely on it a lot. Mm-hmm. And I've like, when I switched to CrossFit, like fully, like I wanted to compete in everything, I noticed that. And like last year, even I still struggle with like neck issues or like trap issues, just like way tighter than they should be. And I mean, when I started working with James, he was like, yeah, we need to like fix that. It was like, that's just all you use. Or even when I swim, I like don't use my feet at all. I'm just like, I'm like, oh, I need to start kicking. I just like use my upper body. And I think that's just from starting gymnastics at a young age and how I was taught, like, just all that strength.
Legless everything, right? I don't think I climbed a rope once with my legs in gymnastics ever. It's like legless ever. Don't use your legs for anything unless it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah, Dave, I think you could probably handstand push up more weight than you can squat. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not.
I bench press more than I can squat. Embarrassing as that is.
Nice. Well, maybe not now, Dave. You've been doing a lot of squats over the last couple of years. I bet that's not true anymore. But I want to talk about the arm bend a little bit more, because for you, as a very talented athlete, and James, get your perspective on it as well. What I do, I observe elite lifters all the time when I'm writing and teaching. I'm going back and looking at them, and I'm trying to confirm that I'm saying the right things, that I'm delivering the right message. So when someone is doing something, for example, that no elite lifters are doing, I'm like, well, the elites are doing this, so all of them are doing this same thing. So we should probably pay attention to that, and maybe at least head you in that right direction, just like we talked about with foot position. But when it comes to the arm bend, that's something that when I first started coaching, I would try to change everyone on that. And I still recommend straight arms to most people, or to get them to do that when I can, if at all possible. But one of the things that I had to admit to myself, and I tried to overlook it, and I tried not to see it, but there are world records that are broken with the arm bend, So is that something that, Mal, you would like to change in your lifting? And James, do you think it's something that she needs to change, or is that, are you guys going with that?
When we first started working together, he mentioned, I didn't even know I had it. Like, I was just like, it just felt normal to me. Like, I didn't realize I had it. And he was like we kind of worked on it, and he was just like, nah, like that's just what works for you. And that's what's worked for me for the year and a half we've been together. And it's just like, I mean, we're kind of working on the hitch a little now and just keeping the arm bend, which is getting better. But I don't want to change it, because it's just what like my body's used to. I don't think it'd be worth it.
Sure. Yeah. It's I firmly believe in that open dialogue between a coach and an athlete. And Chad, I'm more more lines of what you said by like going right into it, teaching, keeping the arm straight, right? And when I saw her, and I first saw her lift, and I was like, yeah, you are using a lot of your traps and everything. So that's probably why, a lot of your headaches and your traps are tight and everything. So let's just try to switch it up. And I saw that it was getting her frustrated, and that it was getting to her. And she was more comfortable in doing an early arm bend. And I was like, you know what? I'm more like the athlete that likes to break the mold, because I early arm bend. So what am I? Since I early arm bend, why am I trying to change it? And it works for her because it works for me. So we just, we went off of that, and I'm a big component on just, what works for you works for you. What makes you feel good is going to help you lift more. The way you move, is going to help you perform good. So but we do got to fix that hitch. She does have a certain hitch. Like now it has gotten better, but when she gets to her 95%, 95%, then you can see her hitch. But other than that, it works for her. It makes her feel comfortable. She ain't got to, think about it like, all right, I need to, not hitch or keep my arm straight. It works for her, and she moves well. She moves well.
Yeah, she yeah, go ahead.
Like after I lift or when we're lifting, I'm just like, did I hitch?
Yeah, I'm always filming for her.
And
that's the one thing I like, that I like to record her lifts, and we look back on it like watching film. Football player. And
right.
See here, right here, you can just change that a little bit. But okay.
Yeah, and to give people an idea of what the hitch is, if they're unfamiliar with it, is it, it's when it's something that happens, in the area of from the knee up to the hip, and somewhere along the way, the athlete seemingly almost stops and places the bar, into the hip or pulls it back into the hip, and it's a timing thing. It's not as smooth as it could or maybe should be, and so that's why I assume you guys are trying to make a change on that, but not worrying about the arm bend so much. It's more about the timing and fluidity of the pull from the knee through extension that you're trying to change. And I would absolutely agree with that, because, and again, she's so good at compensating. So it's something she's lifting a lot of weight with. But if you can smooth that out and make it more of a continuous movement, of course, that should translate into even more speed and power. So.
And I think we should make sure that we're letting listeners know that by no means are your lifts a weakness.
No.
Can you give people just some numbers, maybe your size and then what you're lifting right now, just to give some perspective?
I'm 5'3", 145 pounds. My back squat is 331. Power clean, 225. Squat clean, 245. Split jerk, 267. I don't know why that's so high.
Kilo plates.
Snatch 195. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean,
deadlift 355.
Chad, what do you think about those numbers?
Oh, I mean, they're incredible. They're absolutely, I think we talked about this last time on the line of, if Mal chose to be a competitive weightlifter, she could be right there on top. And, those numbers are incredible. I mean, I can't say enough about it. They're amazing. They're on the level of, how impressed everybody was with CJ Cummings and Harrison Morris and some of the other newer athletes in the weightlifting world. And what's equally as impressive to me than the numbers that you mentioned are the fact that you were able to rattle off those numbers very quickly without hesitation. You didn't have to look in your book. And to me, I personally believe that's a sign of someone that really has an edge in training and competing, because I come across too many athletes that, hey, what's your PR? I'm not even sure. Let me go see if I can dig that up. So I think it's an important part as an athlete to keep up with your own numbers and know what they are. I mean, you had numbers that were random, so like, what'd you say? 261, 267 and 231 or something like that, so I think it's valuable to know that stuff.
Well, I think it comes across as, and you're 17 now, is that correct? So you're still competing as a junior, and I think it just speaks to how mature you are as an athlete. And I'm curious if that was something that was just innate in you, and like you've always been kind of a mature person, wiser than your years, or if it's something that you feel like you've learned while working with someone like James. How do you feel that that's come about? Has it been natural for you?
Yeah, it's been pretty natural. I think like going back to gymnastics, also like the discipline at such a young age has played a huge role into how it is now. And like when I started training full time, like that's all I did. It's just like you have to have such a strong focus in the gym, and you can't like let the little things get to you or the distractions or like any of it. So you just have to be like head down, eyes forward all the time. And that's just how it's been. Like, I think James noticed that right when I came in. He always commented on it. So, I mean, it definitely helped my mental game a lot, just like talking with me about everything. But it's not something that's been hard to do for me at all.
I think that's incredible at someone 17 years old. I mean, I was a mental mess, basically like until I was in my late 20s. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's a strength that you have, right? And I think we maybe even talked about this on the last time we spoke, but weaknesses, you don't seem to have any, at least physical weaknesses, right? You come from a gymnastics background, listeners can't see the video, but you just like nodded your head like, no, I have no weaknesses. So, I mean, from a physical perspective, yeah, you know, like you have an incredible gymnastics background. Gymnastics is definitely a strength for you. Your lifts are on par with, you know, some of the top lifters in the world. You can compete internationally if you wanted to from a weightlifting. I asked, is endurance, and you know, James is quick to say like she loves long was, you know, like just loves kind of going anything 30 minutes or more is like up my alley. Like there doesn't seem to be anything physically that is limiting you in the same way that maybe for a Fraser or maybe for a Tia. But is there anything like mentally, do you feel like the mental part of the game, was that something you had to work on? Or is there anything that you feel is kind of a roadblock for you right now? Or do you feel like you have everything already dialed in to kind of start targeting some of those top goals that you might have?
Yeah, I feel pretty dialed in right now. As a female athlete, something we struggle with a lot is comparison with one another, and that's like, it can get to me sometimes. Like if I see like one of my competitors like PR or like do something like that, I'm like, dang. But and I'll
use it as fuel though, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. And like, yeah, nothing like besides that, but I'm feeling pretty good. So
that's exciting. I mean, it's rare to see all those things kind of package into one incredible athlete. And again, I think maybe Chad, we talk about it with Tia and Matt specifically because they've been so dominant over the course of the last, 5+ years. But you don't see it that often, right? An athlete that kind of has everything all together. It creates a unique dynamic where an athlete can really take over. When you're comparing yourself to others, Mal, are you comparing yourself to the other junior athletes in your age group, or are you already starting to compare yourself to the athletes in the senior division?
I would say both. Like as I'm getting older, it's like I'm going to compete with these girls soon. So
right.
Sometimes I'll just see a workout and be like, James, I got to beat them on this. We'll just do it.
on top of the 7 metcons, I'll give her. Hey, I need to do this extra one.
Just at the end, just to make sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say both.
Yeah. Dave, it's really a scary combination. And when I say scary, I mean 2 other competitors, right? And 2 what someone like Mal is going to be able to accomplish, because it is unique to have everything in line. I mean, you have, athletes that may be very physically talented and conditioned and everything else, but they've got a few mental issues that they need to overcome to really allow themselves to use the physical part of it, and vice versa. I have athletes that are very mentally tough and everything else, or, you, Mal, it sounds like you're able to translate that concern that you have for what your competitor did into motivation, whereas someone else, it might just bring them down, so it's something that, James, I'm sure that you're thankful for that she's that way, because to that extent, it makes your job easier, that you don't have to be as much of a psychologist or a babysitter, right?
Right. I mean, that's why, we gel so good together, because I was that kid at 17, I had all the gifts, natural ability, but my mental was weak, Now that I'm a coach and I have an athlete who has both, I get to nurture that in the right way, I didn't have somebody that was there for me to be able to nurture, and help me with my mental capacity, my mental game, to be able to go to that pain cave, as a football player. But now learning that, and now that I have an athlete and be able to give back to that, it's a blessing. It's a blessing. It's not just about me writing up a workout and having her do it and having her complete it. No, I need you to learn from this workout. I need you to see that why we're doing this workout, where is it going to make me strong at physically, but also where is it going to make me strong at emotionally and mentally. And you know, she takes it head on. Like I just sit back and, you know, we have certain dynamics in the gym when we're in the gym together, right? I'm either right next to her or I like to be far away from her as I would in a competition setting.
Right.
Yelling at her across the room, right?
Mm-hmm.
And man, I lie not you. 95% of the time I'm just shaking my head. I'm like, this girl is 17 years old. it wows me. Like,
yeah.
Not just being her coach and a fan of hers, but I'm just wowed by her mental toughness, you know, going along with her natural physical abilities. And it's amazing.
I really like the way you put that. You know, from your experiences, you know, I think it's an incredible combination. You had incredible talent like she did, but you struggled on the mental side. And so that you're able to use that combination to nurture her. You specifically said that word. And I think that's exactly what an athlete like Mal needs. That's all she needs is basically nurturing and some programming as well. Right. So when it comes to programming for an athlete like Mal, how do you keep up with that, James? And how do you kind of control her volume? Because we know she's capable of some crazy volume, right? You can throw anything at her and she probably takes it and improves. So how do you handle that?
Well, we in the gym, and her and I personally, we go by, you know, feel good, move good, lift good, perform good, right? So she doesn't allow me to take the foot off the gas for her. You know, that's her, that's where she's at mentally. You know, that's like she in her own right, she's like her Michael Jordan. You know, I'm in the gym, I'm shooting 1,000 shots, Kobe Bryant, you know. Would you tell those guys, hey, you need to stop you need to stop shooting because you're doing too much? It's like, that's where I'm always having a mental battle with, is like, all right, I'm programming this for her, but then again, like, then want to do like things. She want to keep going because she really wants to win. You know, she really wants to be her best self. You know, I have to program her right so that she could be able to come into the gym the next day and feel good, so she can move good, so she could live good. But yeah, man, it's just it's awesome, man, because it's like wow, like how much can I give her? You know, how much can she take? And she takes it head on. She'll let me know, like, hey, I'm tired today. I'm like, all right, let's call it audible. I erase it on the board. I'll switch it up, you know, so she don't have to do this workout. All right, let's take this workout. Let's move it to Friday, or let's move it to Thursday, or you know, let's do something different to where, you know, I see that you're tired. I'm always looking at her face. I'm always like, you know, we have that open dialogue. You know, we have that open communication, and that's what's good about our coach to athlete relationship.
Yeah. So
then when it comes to the, you know, the weightlifting side, it's 80%. You know, we hammer in from 70 to 80% consistently. And then if she's feeling good, she'll be like, hey, can I go up? I'm like, yeah, let's go up. You know, and so that's why, you know, most of the time you see her, damn, she PR'd again. She PR'd again. It's like, because she feels good, and I'm okay with that. And she'll let me know, like, hey, I'm feeling good, but I'll just work up to a heavy single. I don't want to max out or anything.
Yeah. So. I like that approach that, you know, talking about weightlifting specifically, and I think you can take that into any other aspect as well. And, you know, you indicated a specific range of 70 to 80%. Maybe we're going to get a certain number of reps here. And if you're feeling good, then we can go up and play it by ear. So kind of a by-feel approach. And a by-feel approach, I think, is for any athlete, at least a little bit. So there's always some by-feel movements and wording in every single day of any programming that I write. There's a lot of percentage-based stuff as well to try to help control volume and everything else. But I think it's important for every athlete to understand by-feel and how to use that, but they have to learn how to do that, right? So I think Mal could probably do it fairly well on her own, but at the same time, it's good that she's got you right there beside her to maybe hold her back a little bit if needed, you know. But the by-feel part is critical, I think, and I love the idea of 70 to 80%, and then just take it. If it's there, we're going to take it, right?
Right. Right. Because I don't believe in the, I feel really drowned or tired, but I need to push through this day because I have training. I don't believe in that.
From your perspective, Mal, as the athlete, how hard is it to make that change? Like you probably want to do what's on that program, right? How hard is it for you to adjust down?
Okay, it doesn't happen very often.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, I think it was like yesterday, he was like, oh, we can just do that Friday. And I was like, nah, I'll do it. But
right.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm tired and drained, like, and if rest day is tomorrow, I'm like, okay, I obviously like earned this. Like, I feel drained and I worked really hard this week. So it's like it'd do more harm than good if I did this. But yeah, we don't do that very often, I guess.
Sure. Well, and that's good to hear. And to your point, I think those things are going to happen to just about anyone. You can have the best programmer in the world and the body just is not ever going to follow that 100%. But your programming should be good enough to where it doesn't happen very often. Like you said, I think for the listeners out there, if you're having to make adjustments even once a week and for sure multiple times a week, then you need to be on a different program probably, right? Would you agree with that, James?
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to ask something about balance, coming back to, our little conversation earlier about your daughter and doing so many things at such a young age. All of us here we're athletes at a pretty high level, and balance to me was something that was so critical in being able to sustain sport for a really long time. Mal, you're 17 years old. You're incredible at what you do. I'm curious how much balance in terms of being out of the gym is a part of your training. Meaning, are you doing things outside of the gym right now to kind of keep your mind sane? It seems like he probably has to pull you out of the gym, but do you have things to keep you balanced? Like, are there things outside of the gym that excite you? Hobbies, time with friends? Quarantine has probably made those types of things a little bit harder, but do you have anything that allows you to feel like you have the ability to step away from the barbell and create a life that doesn't revolve completely around training, or are you not able to do that right now?
I'm able to do it like on like Thursday and Sundays are when I rest. Mm-hmm. So I'll do like stuff with my friends or with my parents or just relax or whatever. But like, I honestly, like, I don't feel like I need that. Like, I feel like I'm happy and I'm satisfied with everything I do. Like, I'd rather be in the gym than go out and do something fun for a 17-year-old, I would say. But it's just like, yeah, if I can have the balance if I want it. I don't feel like I need it because I'm fine where I'm at.
So, yeah. Is there anything that you enjoy doing outside of the gym?
I get my nails done and stuff.
Nice. There you go.
Like hobby outside of
Hey, if anything can take your mind away and allow you to relax, but it really depends on where the athlete is at, whatever stage they're at in life, right? I mean, right now, if you were trying to force yourself to go out and do other things, but you want to be in the gym, like that's more detrimental to you than me because you're thinking about the gym and it's causing you stress. So it's better for you to be in the gym. Right. But at some point in your life, maybe that changes a little bit. And I think it's important for every athlete to have an understanding of where they're at and what's going to be most beneficial to their recovery and to their training. And it's okay, one, to take time off, but it's okay to go in and move around if that's what you want to do. And that's what makes you happy.
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast not that long ago. Michael Phelps was talking about his training career. And one of the things he talked about, I think leading up to the Beijing Games in 2008, he said that he had not taken a day off in 5 years of training, where he was saying that like he was doing training every single day for five years straight, not one day off. And, people would look at that and say like, you're going to burn yourself out. And he looked at it as the only way for him to be able to achieve his goals. Obviously, he had been to 2 Olympic Games prior to that. He was in 2000, 2004. He knew his body pretty well. But I found that to be fascinating, that a guy at that level who was already succeeding at such a high level knew his body well enough and knew his training well enough that he could do that much volume and still maintain, mental health and physical health at the same time. So it is, Chad, exactly what you're saying. I think like finding what works for you. And that was more my question more than anything, Mal, is the balance that you find predominantly meaning that you're in the gym as much as you feel you need to be for mental sanity, as well as, to be able to pick off those people that are setting PRs that you want to beat in competition.
Yeah.
See, that's what makes her amazing, is that, I asked her like, hey, you going to hang out with your friends, or do you want to hang out with your friends? She's like, I can, but I just don't want to, because I don't do what they do. I don't party, I don't drink, I want to be this athlete. And to be 17 years old and be able to say, hey, I don't want to party or, hang out, that says a lot. That says a lot about her focus and who she is as a 17-year-old.
Yeah, so absolutely.
So goals right now. Tell us a little bit about what those goals look like. I'm sure you have those written out in many, many places, and you have those as the forefront of your mind as you do your PR lifting numbers. What do those look like for you?
Well, we don't say our goals.
Okay. All right.
I mean, like,
fair enough.
Yeah, like goals, like for the games, like this year, mainly just on, like, our goals are set in the teen division, not the elite division, but whatever happens. So,
right.
So, yeah, just focusing on this year as a teen and being our best. And
do you have competitions that you're already set up for right now? What's your next big thing that you're training for? I know everything's kind of thrown for a loop right now, but do you have something that you have on your agenda, on your schedule right now?
The Open in a week.
Nice, of course.
Yeah.
So how you feeling?
I'm so ready. It's been so long. Taking like the 2020 time off to just like recover myself and get rid of like what I was dealing with and everything. It just made it feel extra long. And then COVID happened, and we've literally been training for like 18 months for this week. So it's finally here.
Yeah.
What do you think of the format this year?
If they do 2 workouts a week, I think I'd like it. But I get that they made it 3 weeks because the quarterfinals are like a week after. So it's basically just like a 6-week open for the people that made it.
Right.
So I get it. But yeah, I think it's cool. I mean, the teens is the exact same. So the elites will only be the thing that's different, but.
Well, in the end, the format doesn't matter, right? Mal, you're going to kill it anyway.
Yeah, we're all going to the same place.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I have to ask, because your numbers in weightlifting are, of course, up there very high. Any plans at any point in the future to do a weightlifting competition? Following coach's footsteps there?
Maybe. That's all I'll say. Maybe.
Yeah. Oh, it's a possibility. You just warmed Chad's heart right there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, what's weird about Mal is that she's consistent with her clean and jerks, right? But then when it comes to just her outright just working up to a heavy single on snatch, it's like it's hit and miss. She's good at 185, but her PR is 195. It's like it's hit and miss. But you put any kind of conditioning behind it and working up, she smokes it. She's consistent that way. Yeah. And to me as a coach, like, I'm still trying to figure out why that is. Like, why are you consistent on working up to a heavy single on clean and jerk, but you need a bike, you need a biker, skier, or running to pair with your snatch for you to work up to.
You gotta bring a rower and a rig to the back of the weightlifting competition.
Well, and I think there's been a lot of CrossFit athletes like that. You hear a lot of times elite CrossFitters, they get their PRs under fatigue while they're breathing hard, right? I think there is, and I've thought about that a lot too, James. I'm like, how and why is that? And how can we use that information to help these athletes be the best that they can be? especially the ones that want to compete in weightlifting. But I think there is a stimulation factor there, not only physically, but mentally. Right. So what is that? And I don't have the answer, but I'm thinking, what is that specifically, and how can we, package that up, and use it in different ways, or hone it as well,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Cause we were joking yesterday. I was like, if they have a 2-part workout in the open, you got to do like a max snatch. You're going to be on the bike. You're going to be on the bike, or you're going to keep the heart rate at 170. And then when it's time to go, then you lift.
Yep.
She's going to make it a 3-part workout no matter what.
Yeah.
Well, I just remember regionals, a number of times at regionals, I loved these workouts, and I love doing them myself. But, where you did what I think one year was 50 double unders, and then that was your buy-in to be able to go do a heavy attempt. And then you just moved on up the ladder, on up the snatch ladder or whatever. So, those types of workouts are a lot of fun and stimulating to CrossFitters for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. There was actually another one. You brought it up, Chad, regional workout. It was a bike into 15, 25 muscle ups into a snatch ladder.
Yeah.
And I remember, because people were having trouble with the muscle ups, but I was like, wow, that's really awesome to finish with the snatch ladder after having done all those muscle ups. I was like, Matt, those are right up your alley. Maybe.
I love workouts like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, guys, I wasn't trying to talk about gymnastics at all, but I guess since you brought it up, it's all right.
Well, it's been predominantly a weightlifting conversation. I think it's all right to throw in a muscle up here or there.
Yeah.
But this hour's gone by pretty quickly, guys, and I appreciate the time and the conversation, because speaking personally, I'm so excited to watch your career kind of get taken off here, because if they don't know about you now, it's only a matter of time before your name's going to be everywhere, and it's going to be exciting to see you compete against some of the girls that are out there right now. We watched Haley Adams do the same thing a few years ago. She had come to our camp a number of times when she was 15, and now watching her do so well at the senior level, and talk to her and watch her kind of grow as an athlete. And I feel like you're the same thing in terms of an athlete that grew up predominantly with CrossFit and not coming from something completely separate and then applying that to CrossFit. You're an athlete that grew up with CrossFit. So you're a generation of athletes that is going to be doing things that we haven't seen before. So I personally am really excited to watch you compete. And I think you got a great coach in your corner to help you get to whatever those goals look like. I'm excited to see those come to fruition. So
yeah,
thank you both for taking the time. It's going to be an exciting 2021 for you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
So before you jump off, we do have a couple of last minute quick questions if you're up for it. The first one, we'll ask both. What sport or discipline do you prefer, weightlifting or gymnastics? Mal, you can go first.
Gymnastics.
Weightlifting.
Ooh, gymnastics. Okay, so we got 1 and 1 is a wash.
There you go. I'll take it. I'm glad.
I think, you know what? I bet you it might change for Mal. If you can start convincing her to get the weightlifting competitions, who knows? That might turn into a weightlifting answer. No?
Yeah, it
question
might
number
change.
2.
Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
Just question number 2. Anyone that you think would be a great fit for us to have on the podcast? Anybody you've come across that would be a good interview for us?
Have you had Chandler on yet?
We have not.
We tried to have him on a while back.
Yeah, we tried to. I think we might have to try reaching out again and have him on, because a couple of people have asked us to have Chandler on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Chandler Smith.
Absolutely. What, James, out of curiosity, what is it about Chandler specifically that you think is, because I don't know him a whole lot. I mean, I see him doing crazy things online, you know what I'm saying? But what is it about him specifically, do you think, that you look up to?
His intellect, his knowledge, his knowledge of being able to transfer what he's been doing as a Army sergeant,
mm-hmm.
and bring that over into CrossFit. Then also, I know he shared a couple of videos of him smacking around and throwing around guys,
nice.
Rolling around with them in jiu-jitsu and wrestling and everything. So, he's a world-class athlete, man.
Yeah.
His intellect and his knowledge on just life I'm pretty sure he's seen a lot. It's just, it's amazing to listen and get to talk to a guy like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, he's a guy that I certainly would not want to be in his grasp. That's for sure. Like, I'm not going to mess with him. For either one of you guys, any books that you guys have come across? Are you an avid reader, and if so, any books you come across that you might recommend to the listeners?
I don't read that much.
You don't read that much. David Goggins' book. I don't know if anybody knows who David Goggins is.
For sure. We should have him on too, by the way.
No, I would love to.
Oh yeah, him. His book is what he likes.
Can't hurt me, right? Can't hurt me.
Yeah, stay hard.
Yeah.
Dude's an animal, man. He's unreal.
Yeah. He prepares you in the right way, man. Mentally.
Yeah, I think at least I think he's worth an Instagram follow for those listeners out there that don't follow him. He does a lot of good stuff online, motivational stuff, inspirational stuff as well. So, which will probably lead you to his book too. So that's a good one for sure there, James. But guys, it's been a pleasure to have you on again. And yeah, we talked to you before, but what's crazy is we didn't miss a beat. Like, I feel like this one was an even better conversation. You know what I'm saying? And so I appreciate you guys coming back on, and, maybe we'll have you back on at some point and take the conversation a little bit further or in a different direction. But, before we get you guys off here, either one of you have any parting words, any things coming up you want folks to know about other than the Open, of course?
What? Any parting words?
I don't know.
Continue on being out there, being great. Empower not only yourself, but empower others. If you're coming up and you're looking to succeed and stuff, don't just come up alone, bring those along with you. Always try to be the best that you can be and lead others into the future so others can create a better one.
Yeah, that's awesome, James. It's all about, leading people towards helping others. That's absolutely what it's all about. And even for you, Mal, you're setting yourself up to be an example that others can look up to, male and female alike. So it's exciting for sure. And can you guys share your Instagram handles real quick? Because if our listeners aren't following you guys already, you guys need to do that. Follow both of these guys.
At Mal O'Brien with an underscore at the end.
At the James Townsend.
Awesome. Well, guys, as mentioned, be sure to follow them. Watch Mal just kill it in the Open coming up here very soon. And we look forward to that as well. Also, as always, be sure to head over to powermonkeyfitness.com for services and upcoming events. Also, check out our Instagram pages for regular teaching and technical content at Power Monkey Fitness, at Dave Durante, and at Ollie Chad. And on behalf of Power Monkey Fitness, we're your host. I'm Chad Vaughn with Dave Durante. And until next time, guys, thank you all for listening.